Private citizen Compton Reed moved to the High Court seeking orders to set aside the no-confidence vote of December 21st on the grounds that the vote of Charandas Prasad was invalid because he is a citizen both of Guyana and Canada. In oral arguments before the Chief Justice today, Mr. Prasad's attorney Sanjeev Dattadin argued for the court to strike out the application. Attorney for Mr. Reed, Senior Counsel Neil Boston, said that Charandas Prasad was not qualified to be in the National Assembly because, according to Article 155(1) of the Constitution, by virtue of his own act, acknowledged allegiance and adherence to a foreign power, namely Canada. Boston argued that Prasad became a citizen of Canada in 1998 and renewed his passport 3 times and used his Canadian passport to travel in and out of Guyana. Therefore, he concluded that Charandas Prasad's vote has to be deemed invalid. In such a case, he said there were only 32 valid votes in favor of the motion on December 21st and 32 votes against. Once there's an equal number of votes in the House, any action is not carried. Boston therefore argued that when the Speaker announced that the motion had been carried, he was acting in contravention of the Constitution, since Article 106(6) of the Constitution requires a majority vote for a no-confidence motion to be passed. Boston further argued that because Charandas Prasad was on the list of the coalition APNU plus AFC, there is no such thing as a conscience vote. He claimed that Charandas Prasad was duty-bound to vote for the party which placed him in the House. Boston concluded that the proceedings of the House were valid until the yes vote of Charandas Prasad. He argued that it is a notional thing which says that automatically when he voted, Charandas Prasad ceased to be a member of Parliament. Roysdale Ford, the attorney for the APNU General Secretary, however, had a different argument on the validity of the proceedings in the House. He said that if the vote of Charandas Prasad were deemed to be void and if his presence in the National Assembly were deemed to be illegal, then all the things that he did since he was elected should also be considered null and void. He also argued that if Mr. Charandas Prasad could not sit in the House by virtue of his dual citizenship, then that would also affect the other members of the House who also have dual citizenship. The Chief Justice alerted Attorney Ford to the fact that the consequences of her decision would have a ripple effect, and Ford acknowledged this. Charandas Prasad's attorney Sanjeev Dattadin argued that since the action brought by Mr. Reed specifically challenges the legality of the presence of Mr. Prasad in the National Assembly, what must be considered is the specific constitutional provisions that allow for challenging the election of a member to the House. He argued that questions regarding the qualification of any member of the National Assembly can only be done in the manner prescribed by Article 163 of the Constitution, namely the National Assembly Validity of Elections Act and the accompanying rules. That act, he said, provides for any challenge to be done by way of a petition, and this was not done. In any case, the time for presenting such an elections petition to the court is the subject of Section 5 of the said Act, which states an election petition shall be presented within 28 days after the results of the elections are published. Therefore, Dattadin argued that since over 3.5 years has passed, the election of Mr. Charandas Prasad cannot now be questioned. Further, he argued that Prasad is no longer a member of the National Assembly, having been recalled on January 3rd, and the proceedings were filed in the court on January 4th. Therefore, he said there was no live issue to be debated. In addition, Dattadin argued that Mr. Prasad was an active member of the House when the vote was taken, since his party did not recall him, nor did he seek to no longer be a member of the House. Even if the dual citizenship argument were proven true and Charandas Prasad's vote was deemed null and void, Dattadin argued that the Constitution preserves the proceedings. As to the remedy, Dattadin said Prasad can be prevented in the future from sitting in the House as a dual citizen, but the court cannot unwind the actions of Parliament. Attorney Anil Nandalal, who represents opposition leader Barry Jagdeo, argued that the case should never have been taken to the court and that the application by Reed was making a mockery of the court and ought to be dismissed. For the newsroom, Neil Marks reporting.